Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is Dr. Stephanie, and welcome to this Tuesday's edition of Let's Talk Tuesday, sponsored by Floyd Lee Locums. I am Dr. Stephanie. I am your double board certified critical care physician, and I work with physicians who are struggling with their jobs, burnt out with their careers, or who just want some career advice. Through my books, webinars, coaching, and speaking, I help physicians discover alternative jobs and careers in medicine so that they can practice medicine on their own terms. So, like I said, this is this Tuesday's edition of Let's Talk Tuesday, which is sponsored by Floyd Lee Locums. And we are going to take this opportunity to talk about Locums 101, getting back to the basics. But before I get started, I'll need you guys to do me a favor. If you are watching me live, just show me some love in the comment section and speak to me and let me know where you're watching me from. If you are watching me on replay, type replay. If you like a comment, hit the like button. If you love it, hit the love button. And please feel free to share this video as many times as you would like. And please feel free to tag anybody that you think needs this information. So like I said, this is Let's Talk Tuesday with Floyd Lee Locums. And today's topic is Locums 101, getting back to the basics. And one of the reasons why I wanted to revisit this is because I get so many calls and emails and messages from physicians who really want to get started with locums, but they don't really know where to start. They don't really know what exactly it is, what it entails. And I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to discuss some really basic things about locums. With this being the first month of the new year, a lot of people are, just kind of rethinking their lives, rethinking their careers, and maybe wanting to make a change. And so a lot of physicians start being interested in locums, or really using this as an opportunity to find out more about it. So we're going to take a couple of minutes with this Facebook Live to talk about Locums 101, getting back to the basics. And what we are going to discuss, we're going to discuss the what, the why, and the how of working as a locums physician. So the main question I get from a lot of people is what? The what? What is a locums doctor? Well, locum tenens is actually a Latin phrase, and it means placeholder or to take the place of. And originally it was used in referring to clergymen, the itinerant pastors and preachers who would, kind of travel on their circuit and would take a position as a pastor or a minister for a church on a temporary basis until the church could recruit a more permanent person. Well, that's the same concept with a locums doctor. Locum tenens means placeholder, and as a locums doctor, that's exactly what you are. You are a placeholder. You are a physician who works as an independent contractor for an organization on a temporary basis until that organization can find a permanent doctor to fill that shift. So you're a placeholder. That's what you are. And I find it very interesting that more people don't know what locum tenens is. A lot of physicians don't know. I didn't know what a locums doctor was until I was an attending critical care physician, because I had never heard of it in medical school. It had never been discussed as a career option. I had never heard of it in residency. We never talked about it during my critical care fellowship, because we really didn't discuss career options in medical school, residency, or fellowship. So then a lot of us physicians are thrown out here into the real world, and we really don't know what hit us. We know how to practice medicine, but we don't know the ebbs and the flows of the workforce. So I was first exposed to the concept of a locums doctor when I was actually at a conference. And I just started talking to some locums recruiters. And that's how I found out about it. I just kind of fell into it by happenstance. So like I said, locums means placeholder. And it's very important that you understand this when you're working as a locums doctor or considering it, because that's going to help you with having what I like to call the locums mindset. You have to have the right locums mindset in order to be successful. As a locums doctor, you are a placeholder. You are not a full-fledged employee. You are an independent contractor. You work for these organizations on a temporary basis until they can find a permanent physician to fill that slot. One place that I worked a long time ago as a locums doctor, I was doing some moonlighting in Pittsburgh, and the assistant medical director was like, listen, we just need a warm body to fill the shift. He's like, we got openings in our schedule. We need a warm body to work these openings. It may have sounded kind of crass, but that's what it was. It was what it was. And I appreciated him being honest with me, because that let me know right then and there that's what I was expected to do my job, fill the shift, and go home. That's what you're expected to do as a locums doctor, because you are a what? A placeholder. And going into any locums assignment with that placeholder mentality is going to really help you deal with that. So you're a placeholder, you work as an independent contractor on a temporary basis until a permanent replacement can be found to fill that position. The second question I always get is why. So we've talked about the what is a locums doctor. Now we're going to talk about the why. Why would anybody work as a locums doctor? Well, I get that question, asked that question all the time. And I tell people jokingly, it's because I can't keep a permanent job, which is kind of true. But I like the freedom. I like the flexibility of working as a locums doctor. I can work as much as I want. I can work as little as I want. I can have outside interest and do other things that having a permanent job, signing a permanent employment contract would not allow me to do. So it's kind of true when I say I can't keep a permanent job. That's why I keep liking to do locums, because I'm kind of a free spirit in terms of how I want to shape my career, and being a locums doctor allows me to do that. But outside of those issues, there are some very good reasons why one may want to consider working as a locums doctor. Number one, working as a locums doctor is a viable option to permanent employment. So like if you're in a situation in which you are transitioning from one job to another, working as a locums doctor in between your permanent jobs, make sure that you have a source of income coming in until you can start working your new employed position. Also, working as a locums doctor, I like to tell everybody it buys you time, and that's one of the reasons why I would like for residents finishing to consider it. It buys you time because, one of the biggest decisions you can make is signing a permanent employment contract. That has implications in terms of your time. You're signing a contract for 3 years. It has professional implications. It has financial implications. And anybody who has been on the wrong end of a permanent employment contract can tell you, and I know plenty of physicians have horror stories. So does that mean you should never take a permanent job? Absolutely not. But what it means is that you should take time. You should do your due diligence. You should consult as many employment specialists who specialize in helping physicians find jobs. You should get the services of contract attorneys who have specific knowledge in physician contracts. You have to do your research. But while you're in the process of looking for that permanent job, and while you're in the process of doing your due diligence and making sure you negotiate a really good contract for you, you still need some money. So working as a locums doctor in the short term not only gives you work experience, but it provides an income so that you kind of have a cushion so that you don't have to rush out here and take the first permanent job that comes your way. So working as a locums doctor buys you time. So it provides freedom, it provides flexibility, it serves as a transition between jobs, and it buys you time. And then the third reason why you may want to want to consider working as a locums doctor is that it's an excellent way to supplement your income if you have a permanent job that allows you to moonlight, and even if you have a private practice, picking up some additional shifts every now and again can make a huge difference in terms of your financial situation. You can make a couple of extra $1,000s a month depending on how many extra locums shifts you are willing and able to work. So those are just a few examples of why you may want to work as a locums doctor. So we've talked about the what is a locums doctor? We've talked about the why, and now we're going to spend a couple of minutes talking about the how. How do you get started working as a locums doctor? So I talk to a lot of physicians and they're interested and they kind of want to pull the trigger, but they don't know when or how to get started. So we're going to take a couple of minutes to talk about how to get started working as a locums doctor. So the first thing I recommend that everybody do is to update your CV, because your CV is going to kind of be your calling card from here on out. Whenever you talk to recruiters or either any organization, the first thing they're going to say, okay, send me your CV. So just go ahead and make sure your CV is updated and you update your CV on a regular basis. The second thing you need to do, and this is very important, is you really need to get clarity in terms of why you want to do locums and how you want to do locums. And the why is very important, because if you're thinking that locums is going to be your answer to a bad job situation, it might not be, because a lot of places that use locums doctors, there's a reason why they use locums doctors. It's either because they have difficulty recruiting or retaining physicians, maybe they have high staff turnover. So the place that you do locums, for which you do locums, may not be any better than the place you just left or the place that you're currently working at. So you need to be real clear about why you're doing locums so that you have a really good expectation as to what you're going to face when you're walking in there, so you won't be disappointed. Maybe you just want to do locums for a couple of months until you decide what your next career move is going to be. Maybe you want to do locums until you earn enough money to pay off certain debt, but be really clear about why you want to do locums. The second thing is you need to be clear about how locums work is going to fit into your life, and what the logistics are going to be. What kind of locums work do you want to do? For example, for a lot of physicians who have multiple board certifications, decide which specialty you want to work in. For a lot of my, I'm critical care, but I'm also I'm also certified in internal medicine. So I've not only done critical care locums, I've done hospitalist locums. For a lot of my family practice physicians who are so well versed in everything, decide, do you want to work in a traditional family practice setting? Do you want to do urgent care? If you are comfortable working in a low volume ER, do you want to do ER? Do you want to do hospitalist work? Do you want to do occupational medicine? Do you want to do wound care? Whatever you are qualified in, you can probably find a locums job that will do that. For my general surgeons, my cardiovascular surgeons, my vascular surgeons, I have a colleague that's like triple board certified, internal medicine, pulmonary, and sleep. I know people who are, certified in, all sorts of things, specialties and subspecialties. And you just have to decide which one of those you want to do locums in, because that's going to give you clarity when you are talking to recruiters. And then you just also need to decide on the logistics. If traveling away from your home is not feasible, then locums may not be the best route for you to take. You need to also decide, how many shifts you want to work a month, how much money you want to make a month, whether you're able to travel. If so, how far? Are you willing to work nights, weekends, and holidays? These are all questions that you need to ask yourself and to be honest with yourself, because that's going to help you establish some expectations so you will be realistic in terms of doing this thing if locums is something that you decide to do. But the most important thing you can do in order to get started is to go ahead and reach out to several locums agencies. Working with a reputable locums company is the absolute best and easiest way to get started with the locums process. They are the ones that have access to thousands of jobs. They have departments that are dedicated to licensing and credentialing. They have departments that are dedicated to making your travel arrangements. They have the manpower and the workforce to be able to support you through this process. So that is what you need to do. And I would encourage everybody who is interested in doing locums to reach out tonight to some locums recruiters. It doesn't take a long time. Most of them have really good websites. Put your information in their website and watch your phone and your emails start blowing up, getting phone calls and emails. But that is the most straightforward thing that you can do in order to get started with locums. And what's the time frame, you ask? The time frame is now. If it is a possibility anywhere in the future that you can even consider that you might possibly want to do locums or need to do locums, you need to start now. You need to contact a locums agency now, and you need to start the process, because it takes anywhere between 3 and 6 months to get your first locums assignment. First of all, you have to be licensed in whichever state that you want to work in. And we all know that the state licensing process can be a hassle. It took me 6 months or 7 months to get my Texas license, and I'm still working on a license in another state. And these things take time. So you have to allow time for licensing. You have to allow time for credentialing. These things take time. So even if you think that maybe in 2020, I want to maybe kind of consider doing locums, you need to start talking to some recruiters now, because trust me, it really can take that long. By the time you've, talked to a couple of recruiters, decided what you want to do, start trying to get the paperwork together, the processing, and all of this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, you're still working your regular job as a physician, and then you have to come home and, do all this other stuff. It can take a while. So I highly recommend the best thing you can do to get started as a locums doctor is to start the process. And not only is it important that you reach out to locums agencies, you need to reach out to reputable locums agencies who take pride in making sure that their physicians have a good experience. And I know a lot of you have heard some horror stories about people who have not had great locums experiences. You've heard horror stories about, physicians who have dealt with some less than stellar agencies. But that is why it's very important that you do your due diligence. It's very important to reach out to other physicians and to reach out to my community in creating careers in medicine, to ask who people recommend and to ask which agencies to avoid. But more importantly, it's really imperative that you develop a good working relationship with the recruiter that you can trust, who will look out for you, get you the good assignments with competitive pay, and then make sure that the whole process runs smoothly. And that is why I highly recommend that you contact Floyd Lee Locums at www.floydleelocums.com. I just got off of an assignment with them, and that was like the best locums assignment I have ever done. I had worked with one of the recruiters, Zach Briganti, when he was at another agency, and we have just kind of kept in touch. And he put me in a really good locums assignment. And I mean, I'm telling you, that locums assignment was so good. I've been calling Zach. I'm like, Zach, I got to go back. Have you heard anything from them? So it's very important that you develop that kind of relationship with a recruiting company and that kind of relationship with the recruiter, so that you can call them up and say, hey, what do you have for me? And if they're always looking out for you, they'll call you up and say, hey, I have something that you might want to consider. walk you through the process, help take care of everything from start to finish, get you licensed, get you credentialed, all of this great stuff. So it is very imperative that in order to get started with locums, you got to get started with locums. So, what is a locums doctor? A locums doctor is a placeholder, independent contractor who works for an organization for a temporary period of time until a permanent doctor can be found. That's the what. Why locums provides options. It provides options. It's not for everybody, but it's for somebody, and it might be just a thing for you if you're in between jobs, if you're not quite sure whether or not you want to take this other job, if you're straight out of residency or fellowship and you have no idea what kind of permanent job you want to take, or how to go through this process of contract negotiations. Pick up a couple of locum shifts, some locums assignments, so that you can continue to work. You'll have an income, and it can just kind of give you a breather until you can decide what your next step is going to be. And then the how to get started is to just get started and contact a reputable locums company, fluidlylocums.com. I have personally worked with them. They're wonderful. www.fluidlylocums.com. Thank you all so much for joining me. And I can be reached if you have any questions. Just inbox me on Facebook. I'm Dr. Stephanie. Thank you so much, and we will talk soon, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Thanks, and bye-bye.